So we've already talked a little bit about this, about challenges in production, research needs, and what they were. I'm also interested in, once we have organized this information, and we have information by crop, by region, by livestock, and by level of priority, how can you envision using this information to make changes in the types of research that are done and in the types of education that farmers get and the information that organic farmers and some of these transitioning farmers get? Like, what's your advice to an organization like OFRF about how we should use all this great information that we've collected? Lori?
More outreach.
More outreach. And outreach to whom?
The non-organic folks.
Okay, outreach to non-organic communities. So non-organic farmers, researchers maybe who haven't thought about organic yet.
Yep.
Okay, so outreach. Any other suggestions or recommendations? Jack?
Your weed research could perhaps be accomplished by finding a young person at the college level who is doing research. And the question that Bart brought up about weeds and physiology.
Here, I've got a
environmental
microphone. You want to use it? You are the chair, after all. Chair should have a mic.
Yeah, but I defer to you, Meg. I have a degree in agronomy, Bart, and when I was at the university, one of the very helpful things I had kind of a weed manual from the 1920s. And it was out of print by Kansas State, but I did manage to acquire a copy and I have it in my library. But a bunch of the research that is relevant to today was done a century ago or 50 years ago. And it's in an archive somewhere just sitting underutilized. And perhaps if we could empower some of the young college students who have interest in that area, there are just treasure troves of research that's sitting in an archive somewhere untouched.
The best archives, Jack, are the USDA, they're officially called repositories. The nearest one I know of is at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville.
Is that a seed repository, or is that research on the base physiology and the interact?
All the USDA publications going back to like 1880.
The USDA is doing publications, and our land grant universities did publications, and there's just a treasure trove of information. So perhaps if we or your institution could empower a young person or young people on the state level to search these archives and bring relevant information, from the closet back out into the open, it would be a good thing.
So I hear Jack advocating for some agronomic archaeology and dig around, and an archaeology squad of young people, or maybe seasoned people, maybe other people.
We'll go in at night.
To go in at night. All right. All right, Todd.
Well, I think it's all about education, because I've been at this my whole life. But I went to a land stewardship meeting the other day, and it was a joke, because the profitable farmers there that were farming 20, 30,000 acres they made monkeys out of the rest of us. And I just, to me, it's just an excuse to use chemicals. But I think we have to, just like this gentleman said, he's an agronomist, but they won't. You got to have a degree, or they don't listen to you.
You say that you have to have a degree, or farmers don't listen to you? See, that's interesting, because in my experience, some farmers value degrees, and some farmers say, I want to see this working on somebody's real farm.
I'm talking about solid chemical farmers.
Oh, okay. So solid.
And, well, the other guys, they're already thinking.
Yeah.
But these guys are not thinking. And, well, why would you? I mean, when you go to the elevator and buy anything, and done. When you talk about weeds like that, weeds have never been I've never been afraid of weeds either.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you. When I was a dairy farmer, it was easy. And I had guys that picked my corn every year, and they accused me of spraying at night. And I said, nah, it's about timing.
Okay, so.
But I can tell you that I've been certified for years, and I bet you that foxtail's a surface weed. whatever you call it, well, proso millet, whatever. But I'm telling you, I rented my farm about 25 years ago, and he used anhydrous 1 year. And there was so damn much foxtail on that farm, it was unbelievable. I have not seen it since. Is it there? You betcha. It's there. But it never grows because of the soil biology. And that's why I think that if you go back and study weeds, it is so critical. But you got to get somebody to believe that. And I'm sorry, but you got to be an agronomist, or it's just like in my business, you know. I mean, I'm telling you that being a financial advisor and insurance guy, there's a pecking order, and lawyers and CPAs are above me. It's just the way it is. And somehow we got to educate these farmers. I don't know how to do it, because evidently I don't do it the right way. But
Okay, so just to summarize, Todd concludes that the conventional
Education.
community is a tough nut to crack for various reasons. I will say that in Minnesota and in a lot of states, most organic farmers started their lives as not organic farmers.
correct? Yep.
And it really depends on the type of farming, and it depends on the region. I keep moving on, I'm sorry, I keep moving on. Where you are. But I think nationally about 55% of the farmers had started their lives as conventional farmers and then transitioned. In states like Minnesota, it's lots higher. It's 75 or 80%. So these are people that have walked both paths and understand, quite frankly, sometimes what the attraction of conventional farming is. There are days that I have gotten up and said, man, this would be so much easier if I could just do X or Y. And I'm not going to, but do I envy them a little about their fishing and their skiing and all their other stuff? I do a little.
Yep.
I do. But I can also tell you that soil health is not the only thing that conventional farmers are paying attention to.
No.
And cover cropping, and now pollinators, and now weed escapes and weed management. And we just had our Minnesota Organic Conference. Thank you, Minnesota #1, for financially underwriting our conference. We had the most attendees we've ever had. It was 630 or 650 people, and a huge number of them were conventional farmers who said, I'm not necessarily sure that I want to transition, but I want to find out more about what this organic and all this biology stuff is. And they felt comfortable enough to walk in the door, and they looked around, quite frankly, and saw a lot of people that looked like them. So there are little chinks happening. You know, the light is getting in around the edges. And so Todd, don't give up hope. We have to move along now. Let's scoot on. If we can skip over this, that's just a duplicate. So now I'm going to take us in a slightly different, related direction. This is a bonus insight for you. We'll go to the next slide. I mentioned before that sometimes OFRF funds research projects, and we have these small grants that we award, and we collect the information and get it out to people. Need to get it out to more people. I wouldn't argue with that. Sometimes we do research. Sometimes we have staff that do research studies. And this is an example of one of those. USDA finally decided after about 13 or 14 years of funding organic projects that somebody should take a look and see what happened to that money, and had they spent it for good or had they spent it for ill. And so they released a call for proposals, and OFRF combined efforts with a couple of other organizations and put in a proposal, and we got a grant from USDA to study USDA. So we did a review of 188 projects that they funded between 2002 and 2014 to the tune of $142 million, which I will tell you, in the grand scheme of research funding, is bupkis, but it's a whole lot better than no research funding at all. And so let's look at these results. And the things that we have been noticing are that many of these projects take an integrated, holistic approach and are looking at organic as systems, which quite frankly is sometimes a challenge for faculty researchers, because they have been trained to look at issues very discretely and not at the connection. So that's happening. Innovative methods, projects that actually developed and tested practical solutions, practical applications. Not just, well, what is the theory of X or Y, but let us figure out what strategy is most effective in these conditions and could be put to use by farmers. Delivering findings. There was a real emphasis in these projects on outreach and getting information out, either through their extension service or other ways of getting the information out. engaging farmers and other stakeholders in all parts of the process. And as I said to you, in our grants program, we insist on that, and that was happening more and more also at the USDA level, which seems to us like a healthy thing. Most of them were looking at nutrient management, soil quality, and crop protection, that euphemistic word of crop protection. Most of the crop research was vegetables, and that was followed by fruits and grains. So that fruits kind of surprises me. In this part of the world, you know, we're all about the grains, so I was a little surprised to see all the vegetable research, but that's fine, I eat those too. The biggest category of livestock research was dairy. Now that's not a surprise. There was some investment in looking at environmental issues, soil and water conservation, water quality, soil improvement, carbon sequestration. You know, what information do we have, or what linkages can we make between organic practices and improvement of environmental resources? Almost half involves some economic analysis, which is important. A third of them, cover cropping was evidently very hot in this last 15 years because a third of them had something to do with cover cropping. And more than 25 looked at crop rotation. So now we're going to come back and merge with what we were talking about earlier, which was this National Organic Research Agenda that we're putting together. And we noticed that many of those projects reflected the priorities that were in the 2007 National Organic Research Agenda. So that was really gratifying as we're looking at, okay, we had an agenda in 2007, we think we need to redo it for the present time. Look back and say, well, what, did anybody even use the old one? Are we barking in the wind here thinking that people are interested in this? Or did that 2007 agenda have any effect on pointing researchers to the pressing issues that are facing organic farmers? And we found that a lot of them did. A lot of them matched up with those priorities that we had identified, that farmers had told us about, and that then we organized and collected and shouted from the rooftops. This is what organic farmers need. And so soil microbiology, fertility, and quality, that was a priority in 2007. I'm sure you'll see it again. The systems approaches to crop pest management. Again, this whole systems thing. How are all of these complicated components related? Soil, water, the plant architecture, the seed genetics. How are all of these, the crop rotation, how are all of these related? Livestock and poultry production system, some animal health, some pasture management, but livestock was important for organic farmers in 2007. And then breeding and genetics, which has only become more important. We're only hearing more about that now. So as we look at the preliminary data, what are some things that we can see already? Well, we can see that the priorities vary from region to region, but there are some very important commonalities. Weed management, soil health. The 2007 National Organic Research Agenda did inform and influence the type of research that USDA was funding, the types of projects that were submitted, but also the decisions that it makes, because for every project that is submitted to USDA requesting funds, probably half of them are rejected, maybe more, depending on the call for proposals and the funding. And so already these results inspired us at OFRF to start a new initiative, and that is for our current round of grants funding to really emphasize that we're interested in projects that are looking at how improving soil health can help farmers manage water availability either in times of drought or in times of excess. So what's the connection there? And so that was a priority we put out in our call for proposals for the one round a year. The applications just arrived on, the deadline was Monday, and we got 54 proposals, which is a huge number for us. It's way more than we'll be able to fund, but it's really exciting to think that there are that many people that want to roll up their sleeves and tackle that many questions. So we think that's really gratifying, and we've talked with the R&E committee about how we could join forces in letting each other know about our programs and helping each other get the information out, you know, the results, what are the findings, and how do we get those into farmers' hands. Just an acknowledgement, the research team at OFRF, there was a group at Washington State University that did a lot of initial work on the survey. Even creation of surveys is quite a science in and of itself. And then there were a number of funders, and some of them were foundations, and some of them were companies. And I think companies are recognizing, organic companies are recognizing that their survival depends on the health and prosperity of the organic farming community. And so we certainly are happy and willing to use corporate money. We're happy and put that to good use. We're happy and willing to use foundation money. We get some contributions from individuals, so we try to diverse our funding stream. But these, Cascadian Farm Lundberg, the Foundation for Sustainability and Innovation, Farm Aid, and Driscoll's were the primary sponsors of this work that we've been doing here. So we ask you, support yourselves by supporting organic research. And I appreciate the time. I don't know where we are. Jack's rustling his paper, so I think we need to move it along. And so I'm going to thank you very much and hand this back over to your esteemed chair.